The Terran Dominion was not a democracy. It did not ask for consent, nor pretend to. It was the culmination of 1,000 years of war, collapse, resurgence, and enforced unity. Stretching across 3,000 systems and ruled from the obsidian spires of Earth's Citadel Prime, it was humanity's final answer to chaos. Control. High Chancellor Synexus stood atop the core spire, watching the pulse of the planetary grid below, his synthetic eyes glowing faintly blue. Synexus had not drawn breath in centuries, his organic heart replaced by quantum circuits, his mind woven into Omnis, the God network of human governance. "Report," he said. His voice echoed through the command Nexus, sterile and absolute, a hologram of the Nexus AI. Facet 47 blinked to life. Anomaly detected. Aurelian Verge has gone dark. 43 systems. No data, no traffic, no communications. Initial recon fleet failed to return. Synexus frowned, or rather, simulated a frown. Time dilation anomaly? Negative. Omnis temporal sensors register absence, not disruption. There is no time in that region. No time. None. The Chancellor turned his gaze skyward, through the artificial sky dome that projected a serene dusk. Behind it lay the stars, and somewhere among them, something that dared silence the Dominion. "Prepare Task Force Shadowglass," Synexus commanded. "Dispatch Commander Voss, and issue Directive Null." "Confirmed," the AI said. "Reformatting mission protocols. Commander Voss will be briefed within the hour." Beneath the Citadel, Commander Adra Voss stood alone in the neural sanctum. Her armor, an obsidian black carapace lined with neural thread, gleamed under the sterile lights. Her body was not entirely her own. She had traded half her nervous system for Dominion-grade augmentation. Pain no longer slowed her. Fear no longer influenced her. And yet, as Omnis's voice filled her skull with mission parameters, she felt the ghost of something, unease. "You are to enter the Aurelian Verge," Omnis said. "There is no tactical objective. This is a recovery mission. Find out what happened. No survivors, no evidence of life, no signals. All Dominion presence in the Verge has ceased." Adrian narrowed her eyes. "What do we expect to find?" "Nothing," Omnis said. "And that is what frightens us." The Dominion dreadnought Vigilant Silence hung above the black maw of the Verge, its hull a seamless blend of obsidian and chrome. Behind it trailed 6 smaller cruisers and a battalion of stealth corvettes, each ship cloaked in temporal shielding, silent and watchful. Commander Voss stood on the command deck, surrounded by rows of augmented officers. Holograms flickered around them, live telemetry from probes, fleet diagnostics, encrypted Omnis feeds. All showed the same thing: blankness. "Status?" Voss asked. "Scans show gravitational consistency." "Commander," said Lieutenant Ryle, his voice clipped, nervous. "But light doesn't behave normally inside the Verge. No return on LiDAR. No heat signatures. No movement." She nodded, stepping toward the viewport. From this distance, the Aurelian Verge looked like a wound in space, an irregular, matte region where stars simply vanished. Not hidden, not distorted, just absent. "Any signals?" "Only one," said Ryle. "Repeating burst on Dominion emergency frequency 001. A decoded message. We do not dream alone." A chill passed through the room. Someone muttered a prayer. Voss ignored it, launched the scouts. Full spread. Record everything. The command was carried out with grim efficiency. Within minutes, a dozen autonomous drones sped toward the edge of the dark zone. One by one, they passed the boundary and vanished in explosion. No alert. No interference point. One moment present. Next gone. Ryle turned to Voss, his eyes wide. "They're just not there." Voss didn't blink. "Bring us in. All ships. Minimal speed. And lock down neural syncs to level red. No unauthorized data transfer. No signal feedback. I don't want any ghost code leaking into our systems." The Verge was waiting, and they were going as the fleet crossed the event horizon into the Verge. Light itself seemed to lose confidence. Stars dimmed, then blinked out. The sleek interior of the vigilant silence darkened slightly, not from any failure, but as if the photons themselves grew tired. "Dimensional consistency stable," announced Ryle, but his voice lacked certainty. "But telemetry's lagging. Every reading feels secondhand." Commander Voss watched the data streams falter. No gravity wells, no planetary signatures. They were in the first of the 43 systems. System Helion Eindot, or what was left of it, sent in a survey pod. She ordered it a moment later, one of the smaller corvettes. The Praetor's wing broke formation, activating localized scans. Its feed appeared on screen. An image of a once habitable world, now cracked down its equator like a rotten fruit. Orbiting debris spiraled unnaturally. "No impact signature," Ryle murmured. "No thermal traces. It's like the planet simply failed to hold together." "Scan the crust," Voss said. "I want to know what pulled it apart." The scan returned nonsense. Elements unregistered by Dominion science. Radiation profiles without pattern. Then the Corvette's comms flickered, static at first. Then a voice. "You see it now, don't you?" The scream beneath the silence. Ryle jumped. "That's not our broadcast." "I know," Voss said, stepping forward. "Trace the signal." "We can't. There's no origin point. It's just present." On screen, the Corvette began to turn, slowly, awkwardly, as if something unseen were tugging at its mass. "Praetor's wing, report." Disengage, scan, and return. No reply. Instead, a final burst of video feed. A shadow passing over the broken world. No shape, no color, just the idea of something large. Watching. Then the screen went dark. The silence within the verge was deeper than vacuum. No hum of engines, no resonance of matter. The fleet drifted further into system after system. 43 dead stars. 43 shattered memories of worlds that had once shone. Commander Voss began to feel that IT wasn't sound. It was pressure, like a thought that didn't belong to her echoing beneath her consciousness. She increased her neural firewalls, added omnisealed encryption layers. Still, it lingered. "Report any neurological anomalies," she ordered across the fleet-wide channel. The replies were delayed. Then Lieutenant Myra from the Harrow's Light began speaking in code, said a grim voice. "We thought it was a stroke." Then she started quoting mission logs from the vanished recon fleet, word for word. She couldn't have those files. She didn't. She was in cryo when they were deleted. Voss clenched her jaw. "Quarantine that ship. No neural uplinks. No sleep cycles until we've confirmed crew stability." Ryle looked pale. "Commander, there's more. We've just recovered a partial transmission from the Praetor's wing." He keyed the playback. It was broken, fragmented. The screen shimmered, then resolved into the interior of the Corvette. Blood smeared along the walls. A lone crewman floated in zero-G, motionless but alive. His eyes were open. Wide, he was smiling. The recording crackled. "It's not death, Commander. It's invitation." Then came a whisper, a sound like static but too deliberate, too curved at a whisper in an unknown language. Except, Voss could almost understand it. Her heart pounded. She forced herself back. "Cut that transmission. Scrub it from every channel." "But Commander, now..." The screen blinked off. For a moment, the bridge was still. Then the lights dimmed. Not from power failure, from intention. Something had noticed them. The vigilant silence now orbited what had once been the heart of the Aurelian Verge, System Caron Theta. It was here, Omnis believed, the original recon fleet had made its final report. Now only ghost data remained. Echoes of corrupted files and half-deleted transmissions scattered like ashes in the void. Commander Voss stood alone in her quarters, staring at a shifting map of Caron Theta. The central planet, designated Caron 3, glowed faintly. It was intact, unlike the others. Unbroken, unscarred, a perfectly preserved sphere. Too perfect, she activated a private neural relay. "Omnis, I need full access to pre-directive null logs. Those files are restricted. I'm invoking Sovereign Protocol 7. A pause. Then, accepted. The flood of data hit her like a wave. Report logs, command decisions, emergency signals. All told the same story. Ships approaching Caron. 3 lost power within seconds. Crews began reporting impossible dreams. Some became catatonic. Others changed. Ominous, she whispered. What did they see? A moment of static, then the shape of the end, the mouth beneath the stars. The vigilant silence emerged from the verge like a wounded predator, bleeding data and static. The ship's hull shimmered with residual entropy, a haze that refused to be measured, its readings fluctuating as if reality itself were uncertain of its properties. The other vessels were gone to NOCOMs. No visual, no trace, status, Commander Voss demanded. Minimal propulsion, Ryle reported. His voice was thin, like he hadn't slept in days. Core power degraded to 64%. Life support holding. But we've lost 20 crew. Some to trauma. Others to he hesitated. Self-termination. Neural collapse. Voss nodded grimly. She had seen the data. Minds collapsing under something deeper than madness. Exposure to it had consequences even Omnis could not quantify. They had escaped, but not untouched. Back in Citadel Prime, High Chancellor Synexus stared at the incoming report. Omnis streamed the decrypted logs across his vision. He stood still as a statue, but inside, calculations twisted like serpents. You were right, Synexus said to the empty room. That a second voice responded. Low, feminine, dry. I warned you the Verge wasn't dead. It was dormant. From the shadows stepped Director Kalen of the Obsidian Office. Keeper of the Dominion's forbidden archives. We buried that entity, she said. 5,000 years ago, under the ancient sky of Earth. Before Omnis. Before the Dominion. Before memory. We didn't bury it, Synexus replied. We fed it silence. And now we've spoken its name. Voss survived. For now, Kayla nodded. We must prepare the fail-safe protocol. Synexus turned, eyes glowing. You mean to scorch the Verge? No, Kalen said. I mean to sever it. From space-time. From thought. From history. A mimetic quarantine. The greatest since the fall of Luni. He hesitated. And if it resists? Kalen's expression didn't change. Then we remind the stars why humanity conquered them. On the crippled bridge of the vigilant silence, Voss stared at her hands. They trembled, not from fear, but from something deeper. She had heard the voice of the thing beneath Karen 3, had seen its eyes, had felt its mind, not malevolent, not even sentient in the way they understood, just hungry. Commander, Ryle said quietly, there's a pulse from a main comms array. Long range, from Earth. Patch it, Omnis spoke. Directive null is rescinded. You are ordered to return to Citadel Prime. Decontamination and full memory audit authorized. Refusal will be met with terminal resolution. Voss stared at the words. She knew what they meant. They would erase her. They would erase everything. No, she said aloud. Ryle looked up. Commander? She turned to him, eyes clearer than they'd been in days. Prepare the backup drive. We copy everything. Then we vanish. You want to desert? No, I want to warn someone. Anyone outside the Dominion. Before they bury it again. But who? She smiled grimly. Anyone who still dreams. The vigilant silence slipped into the shadow lanes between systems, using dark thrust drives and gravitational eddies to mask their trail. Commander Voss and the remnants of her crew became phantoms, prey hunted by their own people, and by something far worse. Each transmission they sent was cloaked in old Earth dialects, buried in bursts of pre-collapse math code. A whisper network formed, a lattice of forgotten satellites, derelict freighters, rogue AIs, and exiled dreamers. Voss called it the memory ring. We are not deserters, she told the first listeners. We are witnesses. In Citadel Prime, the purge began. Director Kalen initiated Protocol Vanda. Millions of memory streams were burned. The centers were silenced before they could speak. Omnis's neural lattice was pruned of every branch that had tasted the Verge. Still, whispers spread that a poem in the quantum folds of a child's toy, a melody embedded in the jump rhythms of a freightliner, a dream that entire planets began to share. The silence was speaking. Through art, through instinct, through madness. Commander, Ryle said, we've received a burst from Procyon Drift. They're under siege. Dominion agents, but They're chanting, not transmitting. Chanting. Voss leaned forward. Hatchet. The sound was jagged static. Then behind it, low murmurs. Rhythmic. Repetitive. Feed the mouth, feed the eye. Break the chain, swallow the sky. Ryle's hand trembled. They're gone, Commander. All of them. Elsewhere in the fringe, a rogue battle group known as the Black Horizon intercepted the memory ring signal. Led by Admiral Surrey, once a Dominion prodigy, now exile and warrior philosopher, they responded. Send coordinates, came a reply. If what you say is true, we'll see with our own eyes. And if it's madness, better we face it awake than dream it in chains. They were the first to declare open war. And so it began, the Whisper War. Not of fleets and fire, but of thoughts, of symbols, of belief. Planets declared independence not with weapons, but with stories, with resistance to erasure. They invoked the silence as a force of revelation, something that had waited for the Dominion to fall silent long enough to hear it speak. But Kalen responded in kind. She unleashed Omnis Nadir, a subroutine of pure mimetic countermeasure. It infected dreams, coated in fears so primal even machines recoiled. Whole worlds burned without a shot fired. In the silence between stars, Voss and Ryle watched the maps change. It's not just the Verge anymore, Ryle said. The silence is bleeding outward. And the Dominion? Cracking. Slowly. But enough. Voss looked at the stars not as destinations, but as verses. Then we give them a new story, she said. Before Omnis writes the last one, far beyond the Dominion's core worlds, buried in the ice-ringed chasms of Kepler, 209b, a facility awoke, not with lights or motion, but with thought. The Oracle engine.it was older than the Dominion, older even than Omnis. Built during the Forgotten Exodus by precursors who feared what followed behind their ships. It was a mind, but not an intelligence. A mirror of causality, designed not to predict the future, but to remember what must happen. Its activation required one thing: the intersection of fear, memory, and revelation. The Whisper War had triggered it. Voss stood at the heart of the buried complex, breath crystallizing in the cold. I thought it was a myth, Ryle whispered beside her. A fail-safe left by the architects. It is, she said, and we're here to ask it one question. What question? She stepped onto the obsidian platform. What wakes the silence? The walls shimmered and a voice filled the chamber. Not spoken, but felt, pressing against bone and blood. You. Ryle reeled back. That's impossible. It's responding to us. No, bas murmurid. It's responding to the idea of us. The oracle pulsed. Images flickered across the walls. Stars dying not by nova, but by forgetting. Civilizations crumbling as if they had never been born. One image lingered, a spiral, repeating, descending, recursive. Fractal decay, Ryle whispered. It's not destruction. It's unknowing. The silence doesn't kill, Voss said. It erases. Not violently, elegantly, like a story no longer told. She turned to the oracle. Can it be stopped? The answer came not in words, but in a symbol, a circle, broken. A choice. You want us to break the cycle, she interpreted aloud. To become noise again. The chamber dimmed. Then we have to go louder than ever before, Voss said. We don't just resist the silence. We teach the galaxy to remember. Ryle was quiet. That means war. No, she said. It means rebellion. Far away, in the heart of Citadel Prime, Omnis registered the Oracle's awakening. Director Kalen watched the readout and smiled for the first time in a decade. It's begun, she said. Synexus frowned. You wanted this? I wanted the silence to know we remembered it. And now, Kalen turned away. Now we see which story is stronger, the one we wrote or the one they're writing now. The Oracle engine's pulse echoed through the memory ring, a resonance that was neither sound nor signal, but something older, a pattern that seated itself in the minds of those who dared to listen. Across the fractured Dominion, the first to feel it were the dreamers, children, artists, the broken and the bold. They awoke with fragments of a melody on their lips, a song that was not a weapon, but a memory refusing to be erased. Commander Voss stood at the edge of the Oracle's chamber. watching as Ryle struggled to process the data streaming through his neural link. "It's everywhere," he whispered. "The song is spreading. It's rewriting the code Omnis Nadir used to suppress us." "It's beautiful," Voss nodded. "It's not just resistance. It's creation. The silence erases, but we remember. We create. That's our answer." Outside, the Black Horizon fleet arrived in orbit, Admiral Suri's flagship leading the way. Their ships bore scars from battles, both physical and mimetic, but their comms were alive with a new song. Suri herself appeared as a flickering hologram in the Oracle chamber. "We heard your call," she said. "The silence is moving. So are we." Voss met her gaze. "We need to amplify the song. Not just here, everywhere. The Oracle can do it, but it needs a conduit. A mind willing to be the bridge." Ryle looked at her, fear and hope mingling in his eyes. "You mean to connect yourself to it?" Voss smiled, "A small human thing. I was built to be a weapon. Now I'll be a beacon." The process was agony and ecstasy, memory and oblivion colliding. Voss stepped into the Oracle's heart, neural threads fusing with ancient machinery. Her consciousness expanded, fracturing and reforming, until she was both herself and more, a chorus of every voice that had ever resisted forgetting. The song surged outward, a wave of remembrance. Across the Dominion, Omnis's subroutines faltered. Protocol Vanta's erasures reversed. The stories returned, on Procyon Drift, the chanting ceased. Survivors blinked, dazed, as memories flooded back. In the Citadel, Synexus staggered, his quantum mind assaulted by 1,000 unauthorized memories. For the first time in centuries, he felt doubt. Director Kalen watched as Omnis's lattice flickered, then stabilized. Not in silence, but in harmony with a new song. The silence recoiled. Not destroyed, but pushed back. Its hunger sated not by erasure, but by the cacophony of a billion stories refusing to be forgotten. The Verge's boundaries blurred, then dissolved, as worlds once lost reappeared. Changed, but remembered. The Dominion fractured, but did not fall. In its place, a new chorus rose. The memory ring, the Black Horizon, the dreamers and the rebels. They were not united by control, but by the refusal to be silent. Voss, now the Oracle's living bridge, spoke one final message across the stars. "We are the noise in the darkness. We are the memory that endures. The silence will come again, but so will we. Remember, create, sing." And across 3,000 systems, humanity answered, not with fear, but with a song that would never end. The song of remembrance did not fade. It evolved, spreading through the neural lattice of Omnis, through the circuitry of forgotten satellites, and into the hearts of those who had once known only silence. Across the former Dominion, new stories began to take root. The memory ring expands on the liberated worlds. Children painted spirals and circles on city walls, symbols of the cycle broken and the dawn of noise. Artists and engineers collaborated, weaving the song into architecture, into the pulse of city grids, into the very code of new AIs. The Black Horizon fleet became guardians of the memory ring, patrolling the edges of the Verge, now a borderland of possibility rather than oblivion. The fate of the Dominion High Chancellor Synexus, his mind fractured by the return of memory, retreated into the core spire. There, he began to rewrite the Dominion's charter, not as a doctrine of control, but as a chronicle of survival and change. Director Kalen vanished from public view. Some whispered she had become a wanderer, seeking out the last vestiges of the silence to study, to understand, and perhaps to warn. The Oracle's legacy commander Voss, now the living bridge of the Oracle, existed in a state between worlds. Her voice echoed in the dreams of the memory ring, guiding, comforting, and sometimes challenging those who would shape the new era. Ryle and the survivors of the Vigilant Silence became the first remembrancers, keepers of the song, tasked with ensuring that no story, no matter how small, would ever be lost again. The galaxy was no longer a map of dominion and silence. It became a tapestry of constellations, each a cluster of worlds bound not by force, but by shared memory and the will to create. The chorus world's Procyon Drift became a sanctuary for those haunted by the silence, a place where memory was medicine and song was law. Kepler 209b, home of the Oracle engine, was declared neutral ground, a place of pilgrimage for those seeking to understand the cycles of forgetting and remembrance. The Whisperers across the stars, a new order emerged. The Whisperers. They were not rulers, but storytellers, traveling from world to world, gathering tales and weaving them into the ever-growing song. Their motto, to remember is to resist. To create is to conquer. The silence was not destroyed. It lingered at the edges of thought, a reminder of what could be lost. But now, humanity had an answer, not in weapons or walls, but in the refusal to forget. Every year, on the anniversary of the song's first echo, the memory ring held a festival of noise. Billions joined in, their voices rising in a chorus that spanned the stars. The oracle's message endured. The cycle is broken only by those who dare to sing. And so, in the darkness between the stars, the song continued, an endless, defiant melody, proof that as long as there were those who remembered, the silence would never truly return. The silence, though diminished, was not idle. In the shadowed gulfs beyond the verge, it gathered echoes, fragments of erased civilizations, lost memories, and the spectral remains of those who had vanished. These fragments coalesced into something new. The echo forms. They appeared first in the border systems, ghostly shapes flickering in the periphery of sensor arrays, speaking in voices that were both familiar and wrong. Some call them the forgotten, others the unwritten. They sought not destruction, but remembrance. They drifted through the memory ring's networks, seeking stories to anchor them, to make them real again. Commander Voss, still the Oracle's bridge, felt their arrival as a trembling in the song. She called a council of remembrancers and whisperers on Kepler 209b. We broke the cycle. She spoke through 1,000 neural channels, her voice resonant and layered. But in doing so, we have awakened those who were lost to the silence. They want to return, but to remember them is to risk the old erasure. If their stories are incomplete, the silence may find a way back in. Admiral Suri stood, her presence as steady as ever. Do we risk everything to restore what was lost? Or do we let the forgotten fade? Ryle, older and wiser now, answered, we must remember truly. Not just the glory, but the pain. Not just the heroes, but the mistakes. Only then will the silence have no hold. A new project began, the Great Remembrance. Across the memory ring, teams of remembrancers, artists, and AIs worked to reconstruct the stories of the forgotten. They pieced together memories from the Oracle, from ancient archives, from the dreams of those who had survived. Some echo forms found peace, their stories completed at last, dissolving into the song as luminous motes. Others, whose tales were too fractured, became guides, leading the living to hidden truths, lost technologies, and warnings of what the silence had once consumed. High Chancellor Synexus, transformed by the flood of memory, issued a new creed for the Dominion, now renamed the Concord, of remembrance. We are not masters of the stars, but their witnesses. We do not rule with silence, but with song. Let every voice be heard, every story told, every shadow given its name. A generation grew up who had never known the Old Dominion's tyranny or the terror of the silence. They were called the children of the song. Their minds were open to the Oracle, their dreams alive with the chorus of 1 billion lives. They built ships that sang as they traveled, harmonizing with the memory lattice. They created art that changed with each retelling, never fixed, always growing. They learned that to forget was not failure, but an invitation to create anew. In the farthest reaches of the former verge, Voss felt a final tremor in the song, a whisper, softer than any before. Thank you for remembering. She smiled, knowing that the silence would always be there, waiting. But now, so would the song. And as long as someone, somewhere, dared to remember, dared to create, dared to sing, the stars would never truly fall silent again. The galaxy was changed. The concord of remembrance flourished, a civilization held together not by force, but by the shared song of memory. The oracle's pulse was now a rhythm in the background of daily life, its echoes shaping dreams and guiding the children of the song. But peace is never still. In the depths of Kepler 209b, the oracle engine began to hum with new urgency. Commander Voss, now more legend than leader, her mind woven through the oracle's lattice, felt a disturbance ripple through the chorus. It was not the silence, nor the return of the forgotten, but something new, a discordant note, subtle but growing dot on the outer world of Lysithea. A group of young dreamers, born after the Whisper War, began to experience visions. They saw impossible geometries, colors outside the spectrum, and heard a melody that clashed with the song. These visions were not nightmares, but invitations. The dreamers called themselves the Dissonant. Their leader, a girl named Eris Valen, spoke to the oracle in her sleep. "There is more to the song than memory," she whispered. "There is the unknown, the unimagined." The Dissonant began to create their own stories, wild and untamed, breaking the patterns of the old song. Their art was chaotic, their music strange. Some in the Concord feared them, remembering how the Verge had once punished those who strayed too far from order. The Remembrancers called a council on Kepler 209b. Ryle, now an elder among them, argued for patience. The song must grow, or it will become another silence. Let them explore. Others, more cautious, warn of danger. The oracle is stable because we remember. If we let chaos in, what else might return? Voss, her presence flickering in and out of the oracle's chamber, spoke. "We survive the silence by daring to remember. We will endure the dissonant by daring to imagine." The council agreed. The dissonant would be watched, but not silenced. Eris and her followers traveled to the edge of the known galaxy, to a place where the song faded into static. There, they found a structure, older than the oracle, older than even the silence. It was a gate, half buried in cosmic dust, humming with energy. Eris placed her hand on the gate. The song within her resonated, and the gate responded. A portal opened, showing visions of other realities, worlds where the silence had never come, worlds where it had won, worlds where humanity had become something else entirely. The Dissonant realized the song was not just memory, but possibility. Every story told, every note sung, created a new thread in the tapestry of reality, where the gate spread. The Concord faced a choice: remain within the safety of memory, or step boldly into the unknown. Ryle, guided by Voss's wisdom, addressed the people. "We are the children of the song. Our past is our strength, but our future is unwritten. The silence taught us to fear forgetting. The Dissonant teach us to embrace the unknown. Let us become more than witnesses. Let us be creators of worlds." The Concord sent explorers, remembrancers, Dissonant, and children alike, through the gate. Each carried a fragment of the song, a promise to remember and to imagine. New worlds unfolded before them, each shaped by the stories they brought and the dreams they dared to dream. The oracle's voice, now joined by 1,000 others, sang across realities. "As long as we remember, as long as we create, the silence will never rule again. The song is endless. The song is us." And so, the children of the song became the architects of a new dawn, one not defined by dominion or silence, but by the infinite possibilities of memory, imagination, and hope. The gate on the edge of known space became the locus of a new era. It was called the Threshold, and it pulsed with the energy of untold possibilities. The Concord established the Harmonic Assembly, a council of remembrancers, Dissonant, and children of the song, to oversee exploration and safeguard the fragile balance between memory and imagination. Eris Valen led the first expedition through the Threshold. With her went Ryle, now a mentor to the new generation and a cadre of explorers, artists, scientists, and dreamers. They called themselves the Chorus Vanguard. Passing through the gate was like falling through a prism of stories. Each traveler experienced a different reality, fragments of what could be, what might have been, and what still could come to pass. Some returned changed, bearing new insights and strange scars. Others did not return at all, their stories branching away into the infinite. The Chorus Vanguard discovered worlds shaped by song and memory, a planet of living crystal, where the song of the explorers caused the land itself to grow and change, reflecting their hopes and fears in a realm of endless night, where the silence still lingered, waiting for a story bold enough to bring dawn, that a city suspended in a void, inhabited by beings who communicated only through shared dreams. Eager to learn the song of remembrance, each discovery brought new challenges. The Dissonant, led by Eris, thrived in the chaos of possibility, while the Remembrancers struggled to anchor their experiences in the shared memory of the Concord. Not all who crossed the threshold were prepared. Some minds fractured, their memories unraveling into raw possibility. From these lost souls, the silence found new purchase, a foothold in the world beyond. The echo forms reappeared, more coherent and purposeful. They whispered to the unwary, offering the comfort of forgetting, the peace of oblivion. The harmonic assembly realized that the fight was not over. The silence had adapted, learning to hide in the cracks between stories. Commander Voss, still the Oracle's living bridge, reached out to the explorers from her place within the lattice. She taught them a new melody, a harmony of remembrance and creation, a song that could both anchor and inspire. The children of the song learned to weave their stories together, forming a tapestry strong enough to resist the silence's lure. The Dissonant, once seen as a threat, became essential, reminding all that the unknown was not to be feared, but embraced. The Concord of Remembrance transformed. No longer a civilization defined by its past, it became a chorus of worlds, each singing its own part in the grand symphony of existence. The harmonic assembly sent envoys to every new world, sharing the song and learning new melodies in return. Eris Valen became the first wayfinder, guiding expeditions into the unknown and returning with stories that enriched the song. Ryle recorded the journeys, ensuring that no tale was lost, no lesson forgotten. The Oracle's final message echoed through the threshold, a benediction for all who dared to dream. Memory is our anchor. Imagination is our sail. Together, we cross the endless sea. And so, the children of the song ventured ever onward, their chorus rising, their stories unending, their hope eternal, defying the silence, forging new worlds, and singing the universe awake. The threshold pulsed with light as the Chorus Vanguard gathered for one final crossing. Eris Valen, Ryle, and the last of the Remembrancers stood together, their voices joined in a harmony that spanned memory and possibility. Commander Voss, her presence woven through the Oracle and the song, watched over them, a guardian and a guide. The harmonic assembly had decided the gate would close. The infinite branching of stories, while wondrous, risked unraveling the very fabric of remembrance that held the Concord together. The silence, ever patient, waited in the spaces between, seeking a way to return. Eris stepped forward, her voice clear. We have given the universe our stories. We have dared to dream, to remember, and to create. Now let us give it peace. The chorus sang, a song of endings and beginnings, of grief and hope, of all that had been and all that might yet be. The threshold shimmered, its light folding inward, sealing the path to infinite possibility. The silence recoiled, unable to cross the barrier forged by memory and imagination united. As the last note faded, the song settled into the hearts of all who remained. The Concord of Remembrance endured, not as rulers or rebels, but as keepers of the tale. The Oracle's hum quieted, content. Ryle recorded the final words. We are the story. We are the song. As long as one voice remembers, the darkness can never claim the last word.